Hi, and welcome to another edition of Ruins of Empire. This is the story of two companies, Electronic Arts and Ubisoft, and how they're struggling to escape the Sisyphean pit that they dug out for themselves. One company, Electronic Arts, seems to be at the very edge of the pit and may in fact come out of it after many years of bad publicity and a lot of mistakes, while Ubisoft seems to be right at the bottom of the pit, rolling in its own garbage and, I'm afraid to say, feces. Yes, it's a harsh indictment of Ubisoft, but not without foundation. Several years ago, Electronic Arts initiated a program called Project $10. Ostensibly was designed to discourage the use of the sale of used games by stores like GameSpot. But it went farther than that. It was basically putting multiplayer in all titles, including titles that have been excellent single-player titles, putting microtransactions tied into those multiplayer status, slicing and dicing titles with more and more DLC, having first day or day one, day zero DLC, which had critical characters and content for their games, and on and on and on. And the product of that was a series of highly publicized catastrophes. You had the situation with Dragon Age 2, which was a subpar game overall. You had the situation with Mass Effect 3, which had day one content, core content sold. So basically the price of the game went from a $10 extra. It also had multiplayer that was not very imaginative, but it was laden with microtransactions. It had, of course, the infamous ending. It felt that it had been rushed, specifically whether it was rushed because of corporate pressure, or simply because of the leak of the product in the fall of the year before its release. But certainly it, and the way the aftermath of that was handled was not, shall we say, I wouldn't call it pretty, to say the least. Problems with SimCity, problems with other games as well, such as Dungeon Keeper, as a mobile game that was basically a platform for extensive microtransactions and nothing else. A similar situation with a Dragon Age mobile game as well. Didn't suffer as much, but certainly again was another platform for microtransactions and little else. Problems with their sports games, which are coming out year after year, and people were complaining they didn't have a lot of variety. In fact, it was literally the same game with almost no change, maybe changing the roster of the players at most. Problems with Battlefield 4, when was released, was a victim of shall we say, the patching culture, one of the worst victims, because it was broken on release, specifically for PC players, and on and on and on. But it seems now that with the release of Dragon Age Inquisition, to put it bluntly, EA made their saving throw. They had to roll a high number, and they apparently rolled a couple of one or two numbers over that. Not a natural 20, but they rolled pretty high nonetheless, and somehow made the saving throw. Dragon Age Inquisition does have some problems. It has reported some problems on release, specifically for PC, but not any major bugs. It has been well received by the fan base and, of course, the critics. It certainly has improved graphics, more of an open world with a lot of activities on it, a stronger cast. I mean, it seems to be, for all I've seen so far, a far superior product, on par with at least Dragon Age Origins, and, well, better than Dragon Age 2. It does suffer from having to, or attempting to, vindicate a lot of decisions that were made for Dragon Age 2, but that is probably the one major problem that game has. But overall, it seems that if EA applies the lessons from Dragon Age Inquisition. Oh, should I say, it learned the lessons from Project $10 from the time that it was run by Rick Riccatello, which is no longer the CEO of EA, and that basically lets their subdivisions like BioWare do what they do best. Then perhaps they will be close to the threshold, or will in fact climb out of the hole, like I said, they dug for themselves. In comparison, we have Ubisoft. Like I said, Ubisoft is at the very bottom of that pit. It released 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 sandbox games. Watch Dogs, Far Cry 4, and Assassin's Creed Unity. And I think also, well, actually no more. I think there's an Assassin's Creed Unity for 360, which is also a sandbox game, but has been overshadowed by the problems of Unity, as well as a side-scroller in the Assassin's Creed universe set in China. So basically there's been quite a bit of a glut of not Assassin's Creed, but sandbox games released by Ubisoft with a lot of hype behind them. Dragon Age Inquisition also had a lot of hype, but at least it managed to deliver in some of that. The hype train is not a bad idea unless you can't deliver. Watch Dogs couldn't match up the hype, especially when it came to performance on PC and frame rates and what have you, and in content as well. It also showed that the Ubisoft was stuck in a bit of a rut when it came to making sandbox games. Now people are calling it the Ubisoft style sandbox. Whether it's in Chicago in the present or near future, whether it's in an alternate past, alternate history like happens in Assassin's Creed, or whether it's in Far Cry, it seems that most of these games are variations on a theme, right? You know, just different places, but you're doing the same thing over and over again. Certainly, Assassin's Creed Unity has been criticized for having little or no major variations in gameplay or expansion of gameplay. It was extremely buggy and broken to the point that Ubisoft has now canceled the season pass, and basically said if you bought a season pass, remember when you buy a season pass, it's like basically pre-ordering DLC without even knowing what DLC is going to be put out there. That has been canceled. Now they offer a limited offer buying other products like Far Cry 4 or others they have available in their store. It also has had problems with Uplay, which is something that has been plaguing Ubisoft for years. Online DRM, problems with the Uplay servers. Again, mostly a headache for PC users, but increasingly also a headache for console users who now have to go through their particular console portal, or whatever Sony or Microsoft is giving them, and then reach out to Uplay so Uplay can validate their game, and so on and so forth. And being a lot of bad decisions. Microtransactions. Assassin's Creed Unity has microtransactions, not new to the franchise, but one would think that if you're paying premium price at release for a game, it should have all the things that it has to have. It has had multiple patches, and there's still problems are being reported. Like I said in my patching culture video, it is in fact a clear example of the patching culture. And so it has not been received very well. Far Cry 4 is a slightly better game. It also has some technical issues, again, mostly in the PC, but it's been more has a bit more praise. It's a better game, but yet again, a bit stayed. Some people call it a reskinning of Far Cry 3. Same activities, same weapons or similar weapons, and so on and so forth. Improve some things, especially story-wise from 3, but otherwise it's pretty much the same thing. And of course, Watch Dogs now has been released for the Wii U finally, and it's not doing so well. The sales are not there. So right now you have Ubisoft at the bottom of the pit, trying to push what I can only say is a gigantic ball of their own dung out of the way so they can climb out of the pit. I'm not saying their sales are suffering, but these things tend to, build up. The ball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, not as it rolls up the side of the pit, but as it rolls down again. And so it makes it harder every time to push it off again. That means that the next time, and they already announced in the next year's Assassin's Creed. So now, of course, they're doing the whole yearly releases, something that hasn't worked very well for Activision in Modern Warfare series, and it suffered for that. Something that certainly EA has paid a price for in Battlefield. Again, rushing and just putting products year after year with little or no development time. Remember, I would estimate right now the total development time for a AAA project is about 3 years. It's literally a year worth of work per A in the name, in the concept. If you're rushing products year after year after year, you're not changing much, right? And of course, if they're announced that it's going to come out, that means that they're trying to get the hype train out and get ahead of it as soon as possible, trying to have people forget about Unity. Not a good way to go. You can say that yes, for example, Dragon Age Inquisition has tagged on multiplayer for whatever reason, and again in a series that has excelled as single player. It is, I think it also may have microtransactions in the multiplayer. I'm not really sure. I have to check that, but they might be there as well. Certainly, it had a huge hype train behind it, but it seemed to have been able to deliver in some of those things. Enough of it so that people are content. They're like, well, I don't feel like I got cheated. So let's make one thing clear. EA is still not out of the pit. This is just one roll of the dice. It rolled high. You rolled the number they needed, but that doesn't mean that's going to translate to other franchises such as Battlefield or their sports franchises. They also have to apply some of those lessons to those other franchises and across the board, right? And I say EA because, oh, well, this is a BioWare product, but let's be honest. BioWare is a wholly owned subsidiary of Electronic Arts. They own the IP, all the IP. They own everything. They put the money. They have the corporate directives. This is first and foremost an Electronic Arts product. BioWare is a subdivision of it. It's the people that make it. In fact, they can put the name of BioWare on a side of any building and throw people through the windows. Say, here's a couple of computers. Here's the power. The bathrooms are somewhat working. Get to work. Make me a BioWare game. It may not turn out to be a BioWare game, but they can claim to be, and with, at least with some legal backing. It seems that no, the fact that Dragon Age Inquisition is not only a Dragon Age game, but is truly a BioWare game that expanded upon and is as probably may seem as a grand finale for the Dragon Age saga. BioWare is also seeking to reboot Mass Effect. They don't want to call it Mass Effect 4. They're insisting basically this is a new game. It's way too early to tell, and again, you have the hype train picking up steam as it goes along, so you have to be very careful. Again, EA right now is at the edge of the pit, but Ubisoft is in the bottom. There's no way to say otherwise. It is downright in the bottom. Even the products that have done somewhat well, like Far Cry 4, even Watch Dogs, they're stained with the same, dung, if you will, to carry that analogy as far as I can take it, unto the breaking point and beyond. They're all stained. They're all infected with the same idea that they are first and foremost a Ubisoft product. And the idea that Ubisoft is a bad company that does bad things. It underperforms, it overpromises and underperforms, it has a exploitative business model or layers of exploitative business models, one tied to the next, that in fact is repeating the very same mistakes EA is making, right? And it's gonna hurt it. No doubt about it. It's hurting it right now. I don't know about the profits, perhaps. I mean, probably all those games have been profitable right now, so I'm not gonna make a doom and gloom prediction that Ubisoft is finished. That would be entirely foolish to do. I don't have any data to support that, so I'm not gonna make that claim. And if anybody's making that claim, they didn't get it from me, because I just mentioned it just to make sure that I got it out of the way, as opposed to, oh yeah, this is what's happening. No, I'm not saying that. However, the big but is that these things do get traction, right? Now it's become, terms like the Ubisoft open world game. Not Far Cry, not Watch Dogs, not Assassin's Creed, but the Ubisoft sandbox or Ubisoft open world game. I don't like the term open world game, by the way. I prefer sandbox, but that's a discussion for another time. Suffice it to say that either way, it's become, as a pejorative. It's like, oh, just another Ubisoft game, and this and that. And once that thing gets into the lingo, once people start hearing it, it becomes a talking point against Ubisoft and their products. It's gonna stay, right? And it's gonna be every product they put out there is gonna be laden with that. So it's gonna be a problem, And if every time that there's a glitch anywhere in the matrix of Ubisoft's matrix, they're gonna be there. They're still insisting on having PC players go through Uplay and having to use Uplay, and increasingly also console users probably gonna have a bigger burden to deal with Uplay. I don't know why. Well, I know why. They want to tie in their product to their own online store, Steam-like, right? But they're not offering the kind of deals that EA is offering with free games, or offering severe, discounts and stuff like that. They're not doing that. In fact, I think Dragon Age Inquisition had a Cyber Monday discount of 40, went down from $60 or $50 to $40, both in consoles and PC. That's $20 off, right? That's almost half of your price in less than a week. Maybe one time off, but the fact that Electronic Arts is willing to do that with a brand new product, it tells also they really are trying to restore the faith with their consumer base, not just their fan base, not simply the hardcore BioWare fan base, but their consumer base. They're starting to treat their consumers as consumers, right? And trying to engage in that way, which is bring them closer and closer to the edge of the pit, and finally they might climb out. No guarantees there. They might put out the 3, 4, 5 products they put out in different lines, or new IP could be complete disasters. Or they might think, hey, we got away with it, people are happy, we can go back to the way things were, and people are not going to be so upset. There's always a possibility. But certainly, EA is much closer to getting out than Ubisoft. And the sad thing is that, you could have seen this coming, right? And that's one of the things about following industry trends. Just because one guy does it doesn't mean everybody has to do it. Literally, EA jumped off the cliff, and it managed to have a big pile of hay waiting at the bottom. A concept that apparently, Ubisoft thought that it had invented, and it jumped off the cliff and neither had a parachute nor a big pile of hay in the bottom. It had a pile of needles, and ouch, did it hurt when it crashed down. It's still alive, but it's now pulling out very sharp little needles out of its skin, trying to not bleed all over the place. So we'll see. I think come next year, especially between E3 and the big November releases, we'll see who is doing well. Will EA continue their pattern and finally get out of the hole that they pulled themselves in, pulled themselves in, or should I say, landed in and created by themselves? My apologies. Or will Ubisoft just dig deeper and deeper and deeper? Or will in fact Ubisoft learn its lessons? Or will they be able to finally climb out of the pit they carve out for themselves? I thank you for watching. Please comment and subscribe, and I'll see you when I see you. Good night.